Okay, so we want to walk you through what a Sunday at Thrive looks like. And we've really tried to take steps as a medium-sized church in helping people get from the parking lot into the sanctuary and feel at ease. Now, when somebody comes to Thrive, we have parkers out in the parking lot more as a welcome committee kind of thing. And it's usually younger people. It ends up being that younger people that do the parking, but it could be any age. It doesn't really matter. We have guest parking right up against the front of the building. So guests get the best parking out of anybody. Even, you know, there's no pastor parking, there's no staff parking, but we want guests to feel like, wow, we have rolled out the red carpet for them. And so we don't wait for people to get into the church before they feel welcome. We think that it happens out in the parking lot. We also have music that's piped out into the parking lot. And people say, well, why would you do that? Because our philosophy is we want you to start worshiping and start celebrating, at least in your spirit, as you're walking in through the doors. So it helps in the anticipation of worship, and people really appreciate that. We have that music playing all the time. Now, we don't stick people at our front doors as greeters who don't love people. You gotta love people to be a greeter at Thrive, because it is, you know, kind of like that first point of contact other than our parkers. So when somebody comes, for instance, our guy, one of our main guys, Bob Jelness, he's 61 years old, just a big burly guy, big beard, and people love him because he doesn't just shake their hand, but he truly welcomes them with an open heart. And Bob really makes you feel at home, and so do our other greeters. You know, it's more than just coming into our building, into our business, into our facility. It's more of, hey, welcome to the family. That's huge for us. Making people feel like, wow, I can't believe I'm coming into it. And we break rules, by the way. Some of the rules we break, you know, they say never hug people. We hug people all the time. You know, they say be very careful in physical contact. We're giving people high fives all the time, and just, you know, loving people the way that we think Jesus would. And so we break those rules, and that's okay with us. Today's culture is very leery of church. Of course, you know, they're saying that we live in a postmodern, post-Christian society. And so we try to take the churchiness out of the church and instead make it feel very welcoming. All of our volunteers, staff, wear name badges. We do that for a couple of reasons. One, because it provides that sense of security, of safety, so that people know that there are people in place and in charge and can take care of their needs. It also identifies people so that they know who they're talking to. And so we try to have that. All of our volunteers in children's ministry wear name tags. They've gone through safety checks, background checks, those kinds of things. Because here's the thing, it's not enough just to be safe. Our philosophy is you got to appear safe. So you walk into our foyer. It's full of people. There's music playing in the foyer. So it's not a dead space. Again, we're trying to help people worship long before they ever get into the worship center or the sanctuary. So there's lots of people in here, lots of energy, lots of busyness, and people walking around. We always give free drinks. And the reason we do that is because we think that when people get something free, they realize that we're a generous church. And we think that it disarms people. So, you know, you walk into some churches and you put your hands in your pocket and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm so out of place here and I don't know anybody, and you really are very nervous. But at Thrive, we give you a cup of coffee because, you know what, this is very relational. You go to a coffee house and you don't put your hands in your pocket. You're usually sitting across from somebody talking or, you know, conversing about your week or whatever. And so we always want people to feel like, yeah, have a cup of coffee on us. And so it disarms people. And we really are intentional about disarming because we want people to feel like this isn't a church where you have to have it all together, where you have to dress the part, where you have to speak the church language. Instead, come as you are, enjoy a cup of coffee, and be excited about what's happening here. At the end of the day, we want to reach people for Christ, and we feel like, and we talk about, if we roll out the red carpet for people, they're going to feel so welcome that they're going to want to come back. Now, George Barna says that the friendliness of a church is more important than even the pastor's preaching, as it refers to people coming back to a church for the second or third time. So you got to be super, super friendly. And it's not a program as much as it is a process and a passion of ours to greet and welcome people. And can you kind of get the gist of where I'm going with this? Roll out the red carpet. Roll out the red carpet. Take the stiffiness, the churchiness out of church, and let people go, because it's not a country club. And it's not for the insiders only. It's for the outsiders. And so we do everything we can to reach those outsiders and make them feel welcome. Instead of asking people, are you new here? The way we do it is we say, hey, how many times have you been to Thrive? And if they say, well, this is my first time, then our person at the door, our people at the door will literally walk them in. If they have children, they'll walk them over to the children's area to get their kids signed in, then over to the welcome desk. And so we want that customer service to be not just, yeah, you need to go that way, or yeah, you need to go that way, but no, let us take you and show you where you need to go, and then we'll get you into the sanctuary so that you can get ready for worship.
As families are welcomed into Thrive, we want them to feel like they are at home. We want to create a comfortable peace of mind for parents. We want them to be able to worship freely in our worship center. Security is our focus. And so how we start it is any of our volunteers are all background checked. We make sure they are background checked through the current state that they're in, as well as that once they are background checked and if they are approved, that we get them a volunteer name badge. That name badge has a simple check mark on it just to identify who they are for kids, for parents, and anyone who comes in the door at Thrive. As well as our check-in and out system. We want it to be, again, simple and effective. There's security areas where no one else can be able to grab those labels and those tags. When children are dismissed, they actually just hang out in our large kids area. When parents come to pick them up, they're actually in a secure area and they're dismissed one by one. We do it speedy and accurately through just using our checkout system. We just want to make sure that every child goes home with the parent that they came with. And then also just having a safe environment. It seems like something that would be so easy, but sometimes we forget. So we make sure it's clutter-free. We make sure there's no mess. If we're giving tours for parents and things, we want to be free of any of those other things. Also, our exit door is completely locked, and once kids come in, they cannot exit unless they exit out with one of our leaders walking them to a parent or guiding them, or a parent picking them up. So we have safety measures there as well. We really try to follow daycare standards because parents are simply used to that. And we want to make sure that we're showing excellence. We may not be perfect, but we want to really strive for that. We want to make sure that we have proper volunteer and child ratios. Also, that it's really important on our children's name tags when they're checked in, especially for our infants and toddlers and preschoolers. If there's any food allergens, they're on there, or any other information we need to know, and for our leaders and volunteers as they serve with these kids to provide that proper care. And then lastly, we have what's called a nursery news for our infant and toddler rooms. It's a simple sheet that parents get to pick up at the end of each service. It lets them know when their child was fed, when their child was changed, and lets them know how their child's mood was that day. It's kind of just a little extra way to tell parents that we believe in the excellent standards to care for their children. We also want to make sure that we have age-appropriate grouping, so we divide it into separate categories from nursery and infants, from birth all the way to 18 months, then toddlers, 18 to 36 months, and then preschool, going 3, 4, and 5-year-olds up to transition all the way up to our 6th grade area. For kids, we believe that high energy worship has been very effective. Right at the beginning when kids come in, we create this environment. And as we create this environment and we start our worship, that we welcome in all of our preschool all the way to 6th grade into the environment. They're all in group worship together. They're jumping up and down. They're getting exercise, which is so highly important as well. And then after that, they split off into their groups. so they're creating connections. With the end goal in mind, we want to make sure that what happens on Sunday morning becomes the catalyst for what happens on Monday and throughout the week. We recognize we only have an hour with kids every week, but parents have so many more. They have 40 hours or more. We want to see parents and kids live out their faith in real life ways. That's why what we do on Sunday is only part of how we connect with parents throughout the week, because what happens on Sunday will hopefully affect and change what happens on Monday in the way we teach, in the way we connect with families. It's important for us in our children's ministry to partner with our parents as well in tangible ways. Some simple things we do at the end of each week to the next coming week is we send out a parent email, and we send them out a devotional that's completely free that connects back with what their child learned about that Sunday service and the lesson. We want to make it simple and yet effective to partner with parents.
We have set up our foyer like a coffee house. We did that, and it's a large room. It's, I think, 3,000 square feet in our foyer. And the reason we did that is because of relationships. Everything hinges on relationships, not on programs, not on the slick presentations, but on the relationships. People want to come back to a church where they feel welcome and where they can find a friend. People aren't looking for a friendly church. They're looking for a friend. And so we want to present that atmosphere where, again, relational ministry can happen. It's not about just getting into worship, knocking out the sermon and the 3 points in a poem and the songs and getting out of here. No, we want people to linger. We want them to linger before church, after church. We want them to build relationships, and a lot of it happens right in the foyer. One of the things we try to accomplish is to keep a neat and clean appearance. So we really fight against clutter. We really work hard to make sure that our foyer, our sanctuary are clean, they're tidy, they're not cluttered, and they look professional. Okay, so I'm standing at our welcome desk, and we have kind of found an interesting phenomena that as people come into our church and we give them that cup of coffee and they feel a little bit disarmed and they start to relax, we have found that when people come to our welcome desk, it's almost an intimidation. And maybe they feel like we're going to ask them questions or make them sign up for something. I don't know. But what we have found is that when we offer people things, they're much more likely to receive them at the end of our church service. So here's what happens. During our church service, our communications director will say, hey, we have some things for you at the Welcome Center on your way out. If you want to grab those, stop by. And she'll be the contact person right there at that desk, at this desk. And so some of the things that we try to get to people is basic information about our church. We don't overwhelm them with paperwork. As a matter of fact, you don't receive a bulletin at the front door. You only receive a bulletin which has minimal information. You only receive that as you enter the sanctuary, because we don't want you to feel like our agenda comes first. We want you to feel welcome, and as you go into the sanctuary, then you'll get that. You come to the welcome desk after church, several things you'll receive. One, a packet like this. It includes basic information about our church. The other thing we give them is a daily bread, because we know that some people will use this if it's just placed in their hand. We also try to push life groups, because we know that the best things happen in the context of a life group. You know, in the sanctuary and the worship center during service, you're sitting in rows. That's not really that relational. And we want to get people from rows to circles. And so life group is our avenue by which we do that. Some people don't want to come to the welcome desk. It's just intimidating. But you know what? We also ask them to check the box on their Connect and Care card if they want more information about the church. That way we can call them or we can email them, depending on what their preference is. And so there's more than one way to skin a cat, and it doesn't always have to happen right here at the welcome desk. It can happen over the phone or through the internet. One of the things that is really important to us is the atmosphere at Thrive. And from the get-go, Thrive has always been a church where we've really tried to reach both men and women, but we really go after men, and I'll tell you how we do that. And it's very subtle, but we do it through our colors and through our shapes. And so Thrive is a masculine feeling church. We used a lot of stainless steel. The colors are brown, blue, and black. Our atmosphere in the sanctuary, we really, again, try to make it a very welcoming experience, but we take the lights down, make it a very soothing, comfortable place, and because that kind of stuff matters. When people come into the sanctuary, there is music playing, and it's contemporary Christian music. It's stuff that people will hear on the Christian radio. The lights are dim, but it's not so dim that you can't walk around and greet people and see people and sit with them. And also up on our screens, we have slides that are running. And on those screens, we do what's called the 10 till announcements. And literally, we have a file that is specifically for announcements that will scroll for 10 minutes prior to the service. These are key things that we want people to know are coming up so that we don't have to make a ton of announcements during the service. We also do a countdown. We just simply put a countdown over our rotating slides, our scrolling slides. We begin with an opening song, and we try to have this this concert feel without the spectator experience. And we want to have that kind of excellence and excitement and quality, but we don't want you to be a spectator. We want you to feel like, wow, I'm at a great concert, but I'm also part of the concert. I'm also part of what's happening. And so worship is really important to us. We always start with an opening song. The lights come up, and it's usually out of the box. It's usually an upbeat, exciting song, one that most people will know if they've been around the church. We try not to introduce new music in that first song. And so after that first song, full lights come up, and I will jump up on stage and welcome people. And I'll say this: hey, welcome to Thrive. So glad you're here. You're not a visitor, you're a guest, and we're so glad that you decided to come. Hope you felt like we rolled out the red carpet for you, because that's our heart. My name's Mark Hale. If I haven't met you, I'm the pastor here, and from all of us, we just want to say thank you for coming. Thanks for coming. Hey, why don't you turn around, give somebody a high five or a fist pump or whatever. Give them a handshake, and we'll be back in 2 minutes. God bless you, everybody. Welcome to Thrive. Band immediately pops right back in, and they're playing actually while I'm saying all of that. So that energy, that excitement is still going, and as I'm making that initial welcome. But we want people to feel like, wow, they have rolled out the red carpet, and this is a very quality, thought-through process and service. After I'm done, I leave the stage, and while people are shaking hands, our communication director or someone else that she has assigned will come and do another greeting. And then, let's say it's Mary. Mary will then do this.
During our announcements, our announcer will welcome everybody again, both the regulars and the guests, and provide different opportunities to connect with us here at Thrive throughout that announcement time. We will invite people to the Welcome Center and also give the option to fill out a Connect and Care card. We don't want to miss an opportunity to connect with people, to start building a trusting relationship. Our goal is to transition that guest from an outsider to an insider at a rate comfortable to them. During the announcement time, we'll give the option to fill out a Connect and Care card. And on that card, they can find an easy way to get some more information about us with just some simple check boxes on that back. We know that not everybody is familiar with the church. There's a lot of new people here, a lot of people that are just learning about Christianity. So we provide an easy check box for them to, take those little steps into the faith. Okay, our announcements are kept very short and direct, with supported materials that are projected on the screen. We know that people are visual learners these days, so that just helps them connect to that announcement. At different times, we change up the announcers, And the method of that announcement, sometimes we'll do that via video just to change things up here and provide more information. Some of that information comes from outside to provide more supportive material for that initiative that we are promoting. And also, Facebook is a great way that people receive information. We have understood that Facebook reaches more people than what we can here on a Sunday morning. So we put that out there to engage people throughout the week.
One of our core values is that Thrive wants to be a high-tech and high-touch church because we think that speaks to the culture, especially the people that we're trying to reach. And so if you come to Thrive, we will often talk about our app. There's a ton of things on there that you can plug into through our app. We use Facebook a lot, and our website is up to date. You know, every church should have a website. And why I say that is because for so many people, it is the front door. They will look at your website long before they will ever come to your church because they want to know what they're getting themselves into. We have lots of screens, lots of information that happens around the church without it always having to be verbal. And so, you know, whether you're in the foyer or you're walking through the children's area or into the sanctuary, there's lots of information that's being transferred without us having to stand up for 10 minutes and do announcements. Let's talk about the offering. We are still a church that passes, literally, we pass baskets. When the offering baskets are being passed, we think that's a part of worship. So again, we don't have special music. We don't do announcements during the offering. Our band will just play some music behind the offering as it's taking place, and then when it's done, it's done. But we really want people to focus on that time of giving, that it's not an interruption to our service. We think that's a part of worship. So again, we don't have special music. We don't do announcements during the offering. Our band will just play some music behind. But the other thing that we do is we offer online giving. This, I'm telling you guys, this is huge. Almost half of the money that is raised at Thrive comes now through regularly scheduled donations, and it has helped us a lot. Also, people can give one-time donations on our website. And so after the baskets have been collected, our ushers will take them to a secured room. We don't count money in open air. We try to get that out of the sanctuary as quickly as possible. And so thus we have a dedicated counting team and a process. So I want to talk to you a little bit about my philosophy on preaching. I was a children's pastor for 11 years at Grove City Church of the Nazarene in Ohio. And one of the things that I learned was that you've got to kind of mix it up to keep a child's attention. And developmentally, this is true. And so that has come on over into how I preach. I really try to mix it up with story and joke and video and scripture and then explanation of scripture. It's called inductive preaching, and for me it works. But one of the things that we do is we try to include the congregation. At least once every couple months we'll have a 3x5 card sitting on every chair in the sanctuary, and before the service starts we'll have on the screen, please answer this question, such as maybe one would be like, what was the time that you were most fearful for your life? And then we'll gather those, and if I'm doing a sermon on fear, I'll read those, and it's just a great tie-in. It pulls people in. I believe that sermons should have action steps, that because of what you've heard today, you should do something. So it's not just about hearing a message and learning scripture. Andy Stanley says people that know scripture and nothing else are haughty. And I believe that. We want life application. So we want you to walk away from here saying, okay, I understand forgiveness because of what God did for me. I know I have to forgive XYZ for what they did to me. And so we talk a lot about action steps and moving from point A to point B. And a lot of times it's baby steps, and that's okay. But we want people to own the message. And we use a lot of video in our messages, just trying to keep it fresh and fun and relevant, because, you know, Scripture is awesome, but people got tired of listening to Paul. They said he spoke too long and he was too deep. And I think pastors in general can get that way. And so for us, I try to bring in that children's ministry philosophy of, man, changing it up, keeping it fresh, keeping it fun, doing an interview up here, showing a video, having people respond. You know, I ask a ton of questions during our messages, a ton. And I just want people to respond so that I know that they're with me. And I think Jesus did that a lot. And of course, he had moving object lessons. They were always on the move, going from one place to another. So we use some props. And this Sunday, I'm bringing up snow skis, the same snow skis I broke my leg on. And so, you know, just so people can see, because there's, you know, various ways of educating people, and people learn in different ways. And so if you're stuck in one model, I think you're missing the opportunity to reach more people. So after the sermon, as we're finishing up, I usually want to close in prayer, and our worship team will make their way up onto the stage and play behind me as I ask people to close their eyes and not to look around, but to just kind of do some spiritual inventory. And I'll walk people through several questions as it relates to the message. And I'll ask people to raise their hand if you need prayer this week because, yeah, you've been struggling with forgiving somebody, or this message connected with you because, you know, you have found that it's easy for you to get into some bad habits, and you just want to give that to the Lord today. Would you raise your hand and just keep it up as I pray? And so we do that a lot. We don't do altar calls at Thrive. For whatever reason, it's really hard in this culture. We tried early on, and it just did not resonate. And so we moved away from that to raising your hand and or marking on the connection card, today I received Christ, or I recommitted my life to Christ. And that has worked well for us. But after the prayer, our band will then go into a final song. And it's usually an upbeat song to get people kind of rallying again. Everybody again is standing up. And at the end of that song, I dart back up on stage and I give a blessing without it being liturgical. And I'll say something along the lines of, may God use you this week as you go out and reach somebody in your office or on the base or at the farm, and you become the hands and feet of Christ. God bless you. Hey, don't just live, thrive. We'll see you next Sunday. And as they leave the place, our band is again jamming out, but they're going into the foyer and there's music playing. And there's a lot of activity. Of course, Mary and her team are at the Welcome Center, welcoming new people, giving them the things that we talked about earlier. The front doors are open, and I try to be the first person out. I really do. I try to get out of here as quick as I can because I stand nearly in the driveway outside, shaking hands, just telling people thank you so much for coming. But we also have people at the doors saying goodbye as well. And we just want it to be, you know, just a great experience for you. And as you leave, you know, we hope that you would come back. And we think it's all about relationships and about doing things with excellence. Again, not being the best, but trying our best. And that Sunday is the event. And so if that helps you, great. I hope that you can put some of these ideas into practice. Some of them may not work for you at all, and that's okay. But man, I just trust that God's going to lead you and direct you as you put together your experience at your church this Sunday.